everyone. How are you today? Tiffany Robinson here from Beyond RCM, Revenue Cycle Management, here in the fabulous state of New York. And I am very excited to get into today's RCM Roundup. Now, before we get into this roundup, I just want to thank everyone who has been supporting our little channel. It is growing. Slowly but surely, it's growing, and I appreciate every comment, every new subscriber, every message that y'all send out. It is truly appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that every time we put out new content, you will be one of the first to know. So in today's RCM Roundup, we are going to go over and address two comments that came in. And I'm also going to expound on it a little bit more because these two comments have a particular theme, and I felt that it would be beneficial to just add a little bit extra on the back end. So these comments actually came in on one of our first videos that we put out last summer called Certification Matters. It was a part of a summer series that we did called Medical Billing and Coding for Newbies. It was the first video that we did. And I know the last time I mentioned this video, I said that we were close. We were approaching 10,000 views. Well, as of today's recording, we're officially over 10,000 views. So that to me is just, it makes me so happy. It's actually the video that we get the most comments and questions on. And it makes me very happy because it lets me know that the information that we put out there was relevant and people were looking, they were looking for that information to help them in their decision-making process. So thank you for everyone who has supported the video. And if you haven't done so already, I encourage you to check out Certification Matters, especially if you're new to the channel and you're a new MBC trying to navigate your way through the industry. So these two comments came in. The first one is from @divinelybeautiful. And thank you so much @divinelybeautiful for your comment. She wrote, I'm trained in medical coding, but didn't pass the certification test. I'm currently studying for medical billing certification. The training I received was in depth with medical billing only and only an intro to coding. So that is a very common theme, and I actually did a video on that. I think it was part 3 of our summer series where we talked about the difference between medical billing and medical coding. And oftentimes, especially I remember going to school, and this was like back in, I'm going to age myself a little bit, but I remember when I first started studying for billing, it was in 1998. And back then, a lot of schools combined the two functions. They would call it, medical billing and coding. And even now we kind of refer to it as like MBC, medical biller and coder. But it's weird because, when you look at the two different disciplines, they are different. Being a medical biller versus being a medical coder is very different. When you are dealing with medical billing, and I talk about this in that part 3 video, when you're dealing with medical billing, you're dealing with, making sure that you're entering the information accurately, your date of service, your place of service, your codes that is usually already coded for you, the submission process to the insurance company, making sure your bills get to the insurance company, following up on those bills and making sure that they get paid accurately. Those are a lot of the functions that are involved in medical billing. When you are applying, for example, for a strictly coding position, you have to really understand coding. You have to really understand, anatomy. You have to understand coding placement, 4th digits, 5th digits. And now in I-10, you need to understand placeholder X placements. You need to understand, comorbidities and what you can code as one code versus which conditions have to be coded separately. You really have to have an in-depth understanding of coding, of diagnosis coding, of CPT coding. And it's a catch-22 because oftentimes if you're looking for a job in a private practice setting, they're not going to split the position between, I want a biller and I want a coder. usually when you go into work in private practice, they are looking for someone who understands both disciplines. And I think the disadvantage is that oftentimes a lot of these schools will promote medical billing and coding, but they're more heavy on the billing and they're not very in depth on the coding. And you will have to go to a school that or an organization that specializes in really teaching you coding to truly get the most out of it. So I completely understand when you say that you did one but you weren't prepared for the other, because oftentimes, unfortunately, when a lot of schools market their programs, their program is either geared more towards one or the other, so you get more of one and less of the other. And there are schools that, and programs that will take you into the in-depth understanding of coding. And a lot of that will be through the coding societies. So they are out there. And I do want to, I want to just wish you the best of luck in your journey. And thank you so much for your comment. And do check out that video, Medical Biller versus Medical Coding, in our library. So our next comment came in from Elizabeth Jackson 3744. I don't know why. I just started hearing Outkast playing in my head. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Anyway, I don't want to get any copyright infringement. So I don't know why. So Elizabeth wrote, I just graduated a 15-month program with Miller Mott College for medical billing and coding, but feel like I'm not ready to test for my CPC. NHA contacted me, but I'm thinking about AAPC or AHEMA. These are certs that I see employers looking for. So Elizabeth, thank you so much for your comments. Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack here, and it's actually going to help me segue into my final thought in this video. So a lot of times, I kind of did mine in reverse, where I did a certification program, went out to work after high school, and then after a couple years of working, I went back to college. But oftentimes, a lot of individuals do it the more traditional route, where you go to college and you focus on a specific concentration. And in this case, we're talking about medical billing and coding. And then you go out and get, your certification, etc. I definitely think the fact that you are looking at what employers are looking for in terms of certification and using that as a litmus test for deciding who you're going to take your certification through, I think that's extremely wise on your part. I have mentioned that in several other videos because people get tempted to go through some of these lesser known organizations to get their certification. And it may sound like a good idea because it's less money, but when it comes to job hunting, an employer is going to favor, certain organizations over the other. So my recommendation is, it may seem like a good idea to save money, but it's not going to work to your benefit in the long run once you go out and start job hunting. And I don't know how else to say that, but it just is what it is. So I think the fact that you are looking at what employers are looking for is very prudent. I don't know much about Miller Mott's program. I will tell you that when I look back at my educational journey, I feel like every different, path that I tapped into gave me something different, right? Oftentimes, colleges, they will give you a lot of the information. Obviously, they give you a lot of classes that you need, math, biology, English. Yeah, I remember I did a art class and I was just like, why am I even in this class? This has nothing to do with what I'm going to school for. So oftentimes they tend to pack a lot of unnecessary stuff into your curriculum, but there were a lot of things that I did learn by going, into college, traditional college. I got a real in-depth course on anatomy and physiology, actually several classes on anatomy and physiology. And I think that when you do a program that's more geared towards getting you certified in medical billing or coding, it doesn't give you that in depth. So I remember when I was in college, I really got to roll my sleeves up and study those things. As a businesswoman, there were a lot of classes that were geared towards ethics. There were a lot of classes geared towards me understanding public health. There were a lot of things that were beneficial to me once I went back to college. And it helped me be a better businesswoman. But overall, I felt that when it came down to the concentration of understanding coding and understanding billing, I really got those from AHIMA and AAPC. I really got a better understanding of understanding coding, understanding billing, understanding how they work together. I mean, college, it served its purpose, but I gained the real fundamentals of my craft as a biller and coder in doing those programs. So I would say congratulations for completing your program through the college that you completed it through. I don't poo-poo on college by any means. I think that, I'm a way more intelligent and savvy businesswoman as a result of my college experience. But my certifications through certifying organizations also played a role. My actual on the job experience, my day to day experience also played a role. And all these different things taught me. And I had to be able to understand what was serving its purpose at which point. So I would definitely say that you're on the right track to wanting to complete your certification, because when you look at those job ads, they will have their requirement of your college education, but they will also have a requirement stating that they want you to be certified through one of these organizations. So I think the fact that you're already looking in that direction is a phenomenal idea. And, I would definitely keep looking at what the employers are looking for, and I would use that as a ultimate deciding factor on who you decide to go with for your certification. And that brings me into my final thought of this video, this RCM roundup. I often meet a lot of young professionals or young adults, I should say, that got out, they're finished with high school and they're kind of not ready to go to college yet. They want to do something, they don't mind doing a program for a year or a couple months, but they're not quite ready to go to college yet. And they find themselves feeling pressure to make a decision. And I just want to say, when I got into this industry over 25 years ago, I was not ready to go to college. In fact, I didn't even think that I would go to college. I was like, when you go when you go to school for like 14 years and you get to the end of it, you're not like, oh, let's go back to school some more. I mean, a lot of people are. I wasn't. I'm being honest. So I got into this program because I was like, I'm not going to college. And I was able to get into a medical billing and coding program. And I was able to leverage that to eventually get my foot in the door and start my career journey. Now, eventually, as I got older, as the trauma of being in school for 14 years wore off, I was able to say, okay, now I'm ready to go back. So when it comes to the question of to degree or not to degree, I do think and I'm going to be very honest, if you want to work in this industry, you will reach a point where you plateau if you do not have a college degree. And you plateau by virtue of a lot of these, more upward mobile positions in the industry. They will require that you have a bachelor's. They will require that you have a master's. Not saying that, some of these individuals with these, degrees are more intelligent, because believe me, I remember when I only had my certificate and I would get in the room with people who had like a bachelor's or a master's, and they really didn't know much. It was like, why is this person making more money than me? Well, they were making more money than me because they had they had the degree to back them up. So I do think, if I'm being honest, when you work in this industry and if you intend to work in this industry long term, you will need to, if you want to, as Jerry Maguire said, show me the money, you will need to have that degree to back you up. But do you need it to get started? Not necessarily. Do you need it if you're someone who's just out of high school and looking to get a break before you commit to long-term academia or investing in a degree? No, you can do a program. You can do a program through a reputable organization. I always promote reputable organizations. You can do a program, gain your experience, get your foot in the door, get some years of working under your belt, and then you can decide down the road, you know what, I think I'm ready to go into college right now. So I think when it comes to the question of to degree or not to degree, I definitely think long term you need it, but do you need it to get started? No, you do not. I definitely think that having a college degree and when you go back to school, there are things that will help you be a more well-rounded professional. But I think it's crucial if you want to work in the area of medical billing and coding that you get concentrations in those specific areas through reputable organizations that will really do a deep dive into those areas. But everyone's journey is not the same. We're all unique. Everyone's path is different. And the most important thing is that you get up every day and you put one foot in front of the other to get to that destination. So I just want to thank you guys all for watching this video. That's pretty much it. Again, I'm Tiffany Robinson. I get the honor of being the owner of this wonderful organization that gets to help out new and aspiring MBCs find their way through this industry. It is a passion project of mine. I remember when I started out, and I always talk about this, I had a very difficult time getting my foot into the door, but eventually I did. And I was able to keep my foot in the door because there were other professionals who had more experience than I did at that time, who really took the time to mentor, guide, and pour into me. So this channel is just an opportunity for me to give back in a unique way and help others find their way as they navigate their career journey. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me today. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if there are ever any topics that you would like us to discuss in upcoming RCM roundups, please feel free to drop us a comment and we will definitely get back to you in an upcoming video. Thank you so much, guys. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.